hello to you too. Now fashion is no longer just a trend, it's a lifestyle. It's about how and what you wear, the attitude, sophistication, the style you'll influence, and of course the business behind it. And Fiji Fashion Week is all this and more. Talk Business Tonight takes a closer look at the business behind fashion and just how far our local emerging industry has come. Trade is perhaps one of the largest revenue earners in the world. The global apparel retail industry is valued at around $1.1 trillion and continues to grow. It gets you wondering, how can fashion simply get consumers spending the big bucks? Can bags, shoes, clothes and perfumes really rake in all that money? Often oblivious to a consumer, we all follow some form of fashion trend, be it casual jeans, shorts or t-shirts, the latest off the assembly line or high fashion from the runaway. And it's this style which is driven by the fashion designer. Helping develop that sort of potential here is Fiji Fashion Week. In its 6th year running, not only has it become one of the country's most popular events, it's attracted attention far and wide. The fashion show features the work of local, regional and international designers. It's helped put local fashion on a pedestal, one to be reckoned with. But it hasn't always been easy, getting people to see beyond the glamour and place value on an emerging fashion industry.
If I knew then what I know now, and that's in terms of developing partnerships, in terms of sponsorship, your media sponsors, your product sponsors, your financial sponsors, these people have helped us to put the show together. It's very dependent on financial sponsorship, basically because every fashion show around the world is totally dependent on corporate sponsorship. It also is subsidized by personally, because that's just been my passion, and that continues because I can see that Fiji Fashion Week is achieving the objectives that is set out initially for fashion weeks.
The fashion industry here is in its infancy, but the level of finesse and creativity speaks for itself on the runway. But what sort of perception does this translate to? Are people beginning to see the potential of our fashion industry?
The fashion design industry in Fiji is a young one. It's still developing, and there are aspects of a healthy working fashion industry, and events like this, fashion shows in particular, one of the very prominent one, the Fiji Fashion Week. These are platforms in which, and it's an incubators in which young fashion designers, as well as other tradespeople, professionals within the industry, can groom themselves and better themselves through these opportunities that come around.
People value fashion and now they're able to pay the price for it. Before it was seen like somebody doing something at the back of their room, putting things together and bringing out an artwork. But now you see the industry as a whole, so you see the fashion side, the editorial, plus you see the production side, which we're just really proud of because we have a very big manufacturing industry that does quality work that is exported overseas. So why not use local talent to merge the two and then have really high-end fashion out of this country?
So if fashion can draw the masses like a magnet, why are people still reluctant to spend their top dollar on local designs?
A garment is only $150 if the production costs are high. So designers also, in the business side of this, is to learn how to keep those costs down.
It's trying to get people to appreciate local talent and respecting the local talent, that they're credible, they're of high quality, and at the same time trying to change the mindset of people that, like fashion is something that you need to acquire too, and a lot of people tend these days to see that, okay, there are other alternatives, cheap alternatives, and why do I have to pay a lot more money to buy a local garment that is costing me twice the amount that I can just go to a retail shop and get something that's made in China.
The downside of this business in the last couple of years has been demand from designers on tailors has been very high. So what used to cost $15, $20 to sew a dress, tailors are now charging anything from about $35 to $100 to sew 10-piece range. And do you think the designers can afford that? No, they can't afford it. So for them to be able to make some money out of it, they've got to recover that cost, the cost of the actual fabric, all the hardware that goes with it. So at times you're looking at a cost of one garment, it is around about $80 to about $100. For them to make any money from that, they should be multiplying that by at least 200%. 300% if they can. You can only do that really at 300% to cover your costs, make a bit of profit for yourself. If your garments are costing you $20 to $30 to make.
The other side to fashion, undoubtedly, what everyone is familiar with, is modeling. Suliana Thoke is a well-known personality, from the runway to promotional advertising. While being a model wasn't exactly her childhood dream, it's something she's happily grown into. And she'll tell you that modeling is a lot more than just striking a pose or strutting up and down the ramp.
I think the perception that people have, especially here, is that modeling is a simple walk. Anyone can do that. But really, when you take up training for it, it's more than that. It's you have a certain kind of walk expected of you to carry a garment on the runway, and you have a certain posture to make while you're posing for the camera, because all you have to do as a model is to showcase the garment that you're wearing. That's basically the ultimate purpose of the designers, in order to sell that, you need to showcase it well.
So, realistically, can one make a living off modeling or embark on a serious career path?
I wouldn't say it's just reasonable. You couldn't expect much from something that's developing, and in any industry or any company, it's what you get is just enough for the time being. But eventually, if you want to venture into this kind of field in the future, you have like big celebrities out there getting just a lot of money from just doing this kind of work.
Helping models make a mark is the platform provided by the country's largest fashion show. While it hasn't always been a commercial success, this year, Fiji Fashion Week won't be making a loss.
Breaking even is probably the safest way to put it. Any show, any fashion show in the world, particularly international fashion show such as Fiji Fashion Week, it is totally dependent on corporate sponsorship, and we do very well in that area in terms of without the subsidies that we put in from a personal basis. But yes, we are definitely on target this year to at least break even for the very first time in our 6-year history.
And it's getting people to see the value behind the fashion industry that will help it remain afloat.
We're a small market here in Fiji, as well as smaller population, and that's why some of the sponsors are completely stretched in terms of sponsorship dollars. The government, I think, I would like to think that they're just waiting for us to absolutely make a consolidated, solid impact on the economy, because I know we're making a major contribution to this country. I definitely know that from what I see every day, from the work that we do, from the spin-offs from Fashion Week, not only in Fiji, but from the international diaspora market. But I went to see Professor Sakib to talk to him about how we could start to document this in terms of statistics. He's given us 3 graduates and who were doing their theses, and what we're doing together is I'm giving them all of the information that we have, and they are now researching and preparing a paper that we could use to show the government next year. That paper should be ready by by December this year, and it will detail just exactly what we're doing and how it is playing a part in making a contribution to the economy.
It's emerging designers like Rosie Isaac that also benefits from the exposure brought on by Fiji Fashion Week. Now with an avenue to churn out her creativity, the aspiring designer can pursue a business in fashion.
A lot of people, young and old, are into fashion. So it's not just a barrier for any age group. It comes from very young up to say 55, 60. People are still into fashion. They look at it, they want to be stylish. They're not old-fashioned anymore, like I've said. They want to be stylish and trendy.
Anton Conway is another classic example of raw talent coming to the fore. He started off as a graphic designer working for a renowned fashion designer, Rosie Simisi. It's here he picked up the skills of cutting and pattern making. Now he's an established designer who also operates his business on Facebook.
I created a Facebook page just to get my name out there. So from that, then Fashion Week came in, and then my name just went around the world. Well, like people would message me on Facebook and say that they want this, that, and then I would get it done, and then I would send it over. So I think the last order I did was to Africa.
Another fascinating inclusion in this year's event was Robert Kennedy with owner of Hot Glass Fiji, Alice Hill. Their synergy purely reflected on the glass jewelry against the Fijian-inspired printed garments. It was the first time unique local jewelry was featured at the show.
Alice lives down the road from me, about 5 houses down. And I knew that she'd set up a glass blowing factory, workshop I should say. And she contacted me just a few weeks ago and said, would you be interested in having some jewelry with your collection? I was like, yes. So, and it was something completely different and out of the box, which I wasn't expecting. So she came and met with me, and we sort of discussed ideas. And like we were saying, one of the first things I said was, I don't want pendant jewelry. You know, a lot of my dresses have got high necklines, and I wanted sort of a great sort of expression around the neck. And so that's sort of.
Well, that basically gave me the artistic license to sort of go free with my designs and ideas, conventional rather than being conventional with the jewelry. Just to really let my influences, which are very similar with the flora and fauna and the ocean and so forth, to come through in the jewelry and for them to work together. And it was actually lovely how it evolved, and it literally only evolved over a matter of a couple of weeks, where we talked, I made some beads, we came back, we looked at them, and then from there we just created the jewelry collection to match Robert's garment collection.
While fashion designers are the driving force of the industry, it's those in the creative class and behind the scenes, like image makers, makeup artists, fashion photographers, that help conjure up that magic that makes fashion so attractive. That's why making fashion sustainable is also very important.
If everybody puts a lot of effort into it, there's a lot of effort in trying to get the quality right, and that's where the sort of the drawback is, because people are still learning to design, trying to put two and two together, that eventually when we're able to prove that we can provide quality garments, then the market is there, you know, not only locally but internationally. And at the same time, I'm also seeing that people have to find creative ways to sell fashion, because like I said earlier, people still finding it difficult to pay a high price for fashion. They would pay a high price for Gucci and Versace, but they would not pay a high price for a locally designed, fashion creation that is done by somebody from here that has put their heart and effort into it, and maybe worth more than Gucci and Versace.
Aspiring fashion designers should be encouraged that there is work and money to be generated within this profession, within this career. But like any creative field, you have to have that innovation, and you need to be different and unique and distinct, have your own signature on it. And that's a selling point for the garment. In Fiji as well, there's an opportunity here, and there are a lot of successful fashion designers, and that should be encouraging to other aspiring fashion designers. Importantly, it should be noted that support from the community is critical for the success of fashion designers and for the sustainability of the fashion design industry.
People want to see quality and they want to spend money for good stuff, not threads hanging out, half-done stuff. No. If they see quality, they'll spend money on good stuff.
And to get that sort of success, fashion apparel needs to partner with our garment industry. Currently, our local manufacturers are purely focused on the CMT aspect: cut, make and trim. But to get some form of serious collaboration would require designers to think outside the box.
It's a very difficult process to do, and I seriously believe that we can do it. We're not ready yet. Fashion Week's objective, its job, is to try and help train these designers to get to that particular level. But to get to that particular level, again, it's a matter of formal education. Okay, not only it is a formal education, it's a drive for designers to understand that they can make a career out of it, that this is not just a fly-by-night event. And in the beginning, the first couple of years of Fiji Fashion Week, it was pretty much that way, until I saw and recognized that the same designers that came into Fashion Week each year came back each year, but they weren't doing anything prior to coming into the show. So it was fantastic to come and see the show, to enter the show, show a design, and then go home and wait till the next show, because that is not achieving our objectives. The objective is for them to appear in the show, have designers be recognized from a buying perspective, who want to put the clothes into their shops, and then designers going into production, sewing thousands of pieces.
The Fiji Fashion Council is working with the Manufacturing Council, and we're trying to see how we can work together to then enhance this new breed of designers who are coming up with great designs and match them with the manufacturers who can then produce these garments, and then they would be of top quality, rather than just taking it to a seamstress who would have 20 other things to make. In this case, you just have one dedicated factory that can produce this line of quality, and that is expected of anything that's export material.
Taking out the major award at the Fiji Fashion Week was Lana Smith and Andrew Powell, and the result of the Fusion, Elegant Rebellion and Electric Rose collection.
Basically, we looked at the trends, the current trends, and we looked at fabrics, colors. We both like to use color a lot in our collections as well. So we combined that, and we also had in mind the type of woman that we wanted to design for. We put all of that together and came up with a concept, and we just rolled with it.
Being able to work with my friend, my long-term friend, inspired me as well. We share the same design aesthetic. We've always been able to complete each other's sentences, so that really excited me, because we have always wanted to do it, and I won last year, she won the year before, and we finally got to a point where we were both ready to work together.
Robert Kennedy is well renowned for his resort wear. He took out the Emerging Designer Award back in 2009. The designer says it's important for those shaping fashion here to understand their customers. It's not just about the garment, it's your essence. You're selling a story.
I've got very much the Pacific Island woman in mind when I design. It's two things. It's like I design one for my mother and one for island women, and all their sizes that they come in. So that's always the back of my mind. You know, will the most amount of people wear this design? Oops, sorry. Anyone? Yeah, you know, it's a broad market. And I also quickly learned the age group of my market as well. It's certainly not young girls going to the disco. It's women, you know, over 25 basically. So I was very clear about that market. And I think as a designer, you need to know who your customer is, and that's what you've got to focus on, is who's going to buy your stuff and what sort of occasions they're going to wear it for.
Fiji Fashion Week costs around $200,000 to produce. It's the kind of money you need to entice sponsors to invest. If anyone that knows Ellen will attest that she's a tough woman to please. Her loyal staff will tell you why. But it's really all geared towards improving local fashion with the hope that one day people will realize that the industry is worth the while.
I'm hoping that our products here in Fiji are sewn to a particular standard. It is the only way we can get to that standard. I must say again, the emphasis is going to be on education, on formal education. And I would like that, you know, in one year, at some time of our lives, that people will say, you know, buy Fijian-made products because they're very well done, they hit the mark, and the quality is high. So I certainly don't relent on quality. I will strive as hard as possible. I don't do anything in halves. You know, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well, and that's what I'm trying to say to our designers, even the best of designers who come into this office and show me their samples. You know, I pick and I pick and I pick, and that goes with the production of Fiji Fashion Week. I have never ever been totally happy with the shows that we've put out, and it's not saying that I will never be happy with the type of show that we put out, but I haven't been able to say yes at this stage that was 100% production. We're getting very close to that mark though, but I've been taught never to rest on my laurels.
And those right at the forefront of local fashion believe it won't be too long before our industry reaches international standards.
I think not long. You know, I'm looking at 5 years. You know, the way you look at the designers that are coming up, the quality is improving year by year. And, you know, Fiji Fashion will tell you the same thing. That designers are now aware that people are checking their garments and wanting quality product. When they pay high price, they want the quality product. And, you know, everybody is aware of that. And, you know, we're accelerating in terms of quality. So I don't see more than 5 years before we can have, you know, internationally known designers out of Fiji.
So, if you're keen to give it a go and enter the industry, here's some timely advice.
If the glitz and glamour is what's bringing you into it, then I don't think it's worth it. You know, I've only been doing fashion for the last 5 or 6 years, and I've been creative before that. Like, I've done interior design and art. And when people judge art and interior design, it's much less harsh than it is someone wearing your clothes and saying, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that. So fashion's really brutal because you're dealing with everyone's subjective opinions on everything. So you've got to have a bit of a thick hide, I think, to come into fashion and to do this. You've got to take a lot of kicks with a lot of the pluses. So it looks, or when things are going well, it's unbelievable. And when things are going bad, it's devastating. So, yeah, it's got a lot of highs and lows. There's no medium ground. And also, but I personally think if you're rolling on a medium ground, it's boring. You know, it's better to have the highs and lows.
Fiji Fashion Week, it's really getting bigger and better every year. So the exposure that each model gets, it's unlimited. I mean, it's quite tremendous. A lot of people watches TV, and this is going on live on TV. And it's always on the paper, like almost every week. So the marketing for each model and for people to see them out there, it's quite tremendous.
I think it's very important to you know, keep learning new things, try and obtain new skills, you know, such as pattern making and sewing, and you know, being able to sketch and design is one thing, but being able to interpret your ideas into real life moving motion is a whole other thing. So if you can combine your raw talent with being able to do that, through learning new skills, then that's the best way to go.
I think the fashion industry is a very new and growing industry. It's accelerating so much in the last few years, and I see a lot of people have found a niche in, whether it's blogging or fashion photography. Everybody is coming out of the woodworks, and they are ready to, to be part of this big emerging industry, which I see Fiji is heading for the rest of the Pacific. And it's only in a matter of a few years that we'll see us shining as like the leading stars in the Pacific that actually can can set examples for everybody else to then follow.
If you're in it just because, as I said, because of the glamour factor and it's appealing to you, you can rest assured that it won't take you a long way. But if you have a level of commitment and you sustain yourself through just continuous improvement and constantly evolving your collection, as well as personal betterment and development, they'll form more part of your own personal fashion brand that you are.
Designing is not only for girls, boys too. Maybe they're shy to come out, but like for me, I didn't care. I like designing, I like sketching, but sewing bit, I taught myself. Like when I started, I started like class 5. I hand stitched. I locked the room and I hand stitched an outfit. Class 5. So if you want to be a designer, go for it.
And that's all for this week. We'd love to hear from you, so do send us an email, talkbusiness@fijitv.com.fj. Remember, you can view what you've just seen on our Facebook page. That's www.facebook.com/talkbusiness, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Talk Business. Thank you for joining us. Do join us again at the same time next week. Until then, have a productive week.